So let's get into part 2 of narc exes subjugate the mothers of their children. I had a lot of time to think. And I went over the conversation a lot in my mind, and I've had some feedback from people. And basically, what I'm thinking now is I'm trying to build a model of what the narcissist or the pro-narcissist person is and how they think, because the damage that is done by their behaviour is extensive. And if you're a child of a narcissistic parent, we're talking about if you could prove this stuff, it would have a legal basis for a lawsuit, because the damage done to a human being by extreme narcissistic abuse diminishes a person's earning potential, and you basically will make someone into a pauper, because you can affect their health so badly that they can't function properly in society, and you've basically ruined their lives. You've taken away from them the chance to have a proper career, to earn enough money to have their own property. You've thrown them on the mercy of the state often. Same is true of sexual abuse, of course. It's a very serious crime. And we're the survivors of this extraordinary and insidious and hidden abuse. And we're trying to patch it back up together, and it's tricky because it's not illegal at the moment to do to people what these people are doing. And if we tried to make it a legal issue, it would be a minefield. It would be the most difficult piece of legislation to create. We haven't even got a test for this, really. The best you could hope for would be a highly trained psychiatrist questioning the person that's been accused of being a narcissist. And just remember, this could be thrown at anybody. It could be thrown at me. And then at the end of that session, making an adjudication about whether or not the person they had just spent an hour talking to was narcissistic. And you'd have to be damn good. You'd have to be a genius, or would have to have a very, very good test, you know. So it's probably not going to happen. The most that we could hope for is to raise awareness of the condition and its symptomatic signifiers so highly that people get wise to when they're around narcissism very quickly. And whether it's somebody else's parent. I mean, imagine shopping someone to social services because you thought that one of the parents or both parents were narcissistic. How would you work that? Who wants to make that phone call, man? But I guess, you see, if that day isn't coming, I don't know what we're doing here, really, apart from making each other better, which is very important. But we have to move towards change. Something's got to be done. on the other side, they do tend to indict themselves eventually. There are a handful of major tells of narcissists that are consistent, and one of the big ones is they accuse you of being mentally ill. That's a big one. And it wasn't lost on me that my partner's ex went there real fast, which was extraordinary when you think that I was having a man-to-man talk with him. I mean, imagine that. Imagine being in a pub and getting into disagreement with somebody over a football conversation or something, and another man saying, well, you're mentally ill for believing that. Anyway, I don't want to digress. Just what's extraordinary is they go into the mentally ill space with no provocation, like that, with the barest provocation. It's on the first chance they get, they go there, and they do it because you've called them out on their behaviour, and by definition, you must be mad because there's, and this is where I'm leading with it now. That's a big tell, and there are others, and I can't go. I haven't made a list. I'm just saying. They do indict themselves if they can't keep it together forever. Eventually, they all go the same way. Eventually, they all reveal the bunch of tells, in my experience, no matter how unlikely it is when you're, in the middle of it. And in my case, it's so ridiculous to accuse someone of being mentally ill, even though I'm depressed and stuff. I mean, he doesn't mean that. He means psychotic. It's so extraordinary to accuse someone of being psychotic when you've just left them looking after your responsibilities for the best part of 10 years. That doesn't fly. Do you think the nurses that came here think I'm psychotic? Do you think the care workers that came here and changed their diapers thought I was psychotic? Does my partner think I'm psychotic? Do my partner's parents think I'm psychotic? Nobody thinks I'm psychotic except you, and you don't think it, you don't believe it at all. Nobody's saying that except you, you fucking lunatic. Not you listening to this, I mean, my narcissist. So, let's look at the chain. What I'm going to propose today is we are desperately wounded by the behaviour of these narcissistic abusers. Desperately affected and wounded. It can be lifelong. And it can ruin our earning potential, which is a very serious matter. If you were working and someone cut off your arm and you had an industrial accident and lost your arm, you would be suing that place for having bad safety practices. They've done much worse than that. All right. They've basically disabled you. They've crippled you. They've crippled you from birth. But here's the crazy thing. Their intention is in no way as powerful as the damage they've done. They're not involved emotionally in damaging you. They don't care. They have no investment in the situation at all. They don't sit at home and plot like a Machiavellian evil person, the way we assume they must do. That's us working back from the damage. It's a phenomenal accident of outrageous frailty. They are unbelievably weak. And if it's a parent, the reason they've got away with it is, this is the child abuse part of it, is because we were children and they have used that biblical and societal honour your father and your mother line, and you don't know what's going on line. They've abused it. This is the child abuse factor. They've abused the situation. They've abused the parental-child bond. They've abused it. They've abused a child that's innocent. Now, this is probably to some of you very simple and entry-level stuff, but I'm smart enough to understand it, and yet I still can't grasp it. They're not as involved in how you feel as you think. Their intention is to walk around in a bubble, sphere of belief, king of all they survey, the lead role in this sitcom, movie, TV drama they live in, with people acknowledging them as they walk past them. Hey! Right? Yeah. That they, and what they want, it's so infantile, it's so childish. We don't grasp it. Because the one thing they've done is tell us that we're the childish ones and we're the infantile ones and we're the ones that don't get it, and on and on and on and on and on. Everything. Here's my therapist gave me a bit of advice. If it doesn't sound right, reverse it. I had a narcissistic partner a long time ago, very thankfully for a short time, who absolutely ripped me to pieces. And when it was over, she said to me, I can't be with someone I've got to look after. And this was somebody who I had helped recover from a nasty breakup. I now look back on that with great regret, realising I was manipulated and used by her to strike back at an ex, a person that she was a vicious, but here I go, contradicting myself. See, I want to tell you she was a vicious, mean-spirited narcissist. But that's not what we're talking about. That's not what I've learned. They're not vicious and mean-spirited. They're not anything. They're just fishing around, trying to get a game on. They want a new deck of cards. They want a new set of cards. They want a new hand to play. They want a new hand to play. She leapfrogged from one situation. I became a victim of the breakdown of that relationship. That's what happened. They don't want to be the one left on the shelf. They don't want to be the one left holding the baby. They don't want to be the one looking like a dick, looking like the sad case. That's all it is. They've got a vision of themselves, and they will perpetuate it if they haven't got that shell It's a hollow shell. They can't survive. They can't survive. They're terrified of the truth. The truth is that they are ineffectual, they are silly, they are dishonest, they are infantile, and they are desperately frightened. More frightened, in a way, they are more frightened than you or I, because we have to learn to have guts. We have to, and it's a long, hard road. We have to look at us. We have to face ourselves in the mirror, and find the truth. Face our frailties. Face our failings, our weaknesses, and it's a lifelong job. And they are so terrified of that. They're so frightened. They are so petrified. And that somewhere along the line, they turned left and they built this alternate reality. And it took, or as far as they were concerned, it took perfectly well. And we have become the victims of this delusion. And we will never be whole. We can become something new, but we will never get it back, what we could have been for all those years. But it's all right, because when you beat it, I believe passionately, you out-evolve not just your abuser, but you out-evolve a lot of other people around you that haven't been through this stuff. It's a hard way to go. You get something back, but not the past, not who you would have been. What you get out of it is insight, self-awareness, character, being a person of character, and a value for good things in life, a value for what really matters. In a strange way, we out-Christian any Christian, no matter what our sins and failings, once we get this stuff down, because, as we know, there are many Christians who obey the letter of the law of the Bible and not the spirit of the law of the Bible and stuff like that. You can't go through this and survive it and not come out of it a sincere and compassionate person. You may not, there'll be all sorts of variations, and you might fall off the wagon and start to exhibit some narcissistic traits on occasion, but you have to get back on that wagon, because it won't serve you. It doesn't serve you. We know it doesn't serve you. Stay on the path. It's our aversion to the dishonesty and the lies that make us what we are. It's our aversion to the belittling and the humiliation, to the schoolyard politic of so many people. It's called having principles, you know. And that's not a dig at anybody or anything. I believe every person in this community is on that road, and it's tricky, and we will falter and we will make mistakes, but That's what we're about. So what am I saying today? Got itchy nose. Don't mistake the damage they do for how important you are to them. You're just you're just a character on a TV show to them. You're just it's like a dog.